The stack wrap is a permanent wave technique, a method of wrapping that creates greater curl in the nape area. To section for the stack wrap, you can just use a center part, 6-point center part. From the apex, make a curved parting behind the ear, and that'll give you your 2 front panels. And in the back, just use 2 working parts to make a center panel, and that'll give you your side back panels. So you'll have 1, 2, 3 panels in the back and 2 panels in the front. I'm going to start with showing you the traditional stack wrap, which was popular in the 70s. Now a more modern and loose stack wrap is popular, and we can even stack using the spiral wrapping method. The stack wrap focuses on producing curl, more curl in the nape area, and gradually less curl, and resulting in a smoother crown area. Everything is pretty much the same for your wrapping. We still take subsections that are the diameter of the rod being used. You can do this with a smaller rod, but the more modern techniques are being done with larger rods. So I'm just going to use some gray and some white rods here. So the traditional stack wrap, you rolled the hair right to the scalp. Just going to move this clip so hopefully you can see a little better. So you hopefully can see that I have rolled that rod right up to the scalp. We start wrapping at the bottom and we stack the rods on top. Now, because of the size of my section here, it narrows. I've started off with a half size or short gray rod. I'm using the bookend wrap, and the first 2 rods are both going to be rolled right to the scalp, just like a normal perm wrap. Some people like to start stacking that second rod, and that's fine. I like to roll the first 2 right to the scalp to give that hair a really strong foundation at the base. And now the 3rd rod is where things start to change. So when we wrap our 3rd rod, we're not going to wrap right to the scalp. This time we're going to wrap half a turn away from the scalp. So I'm going to roll right up, and again, use your single flat wrap if you have small hairs that are poking up. And this time, instead of rolling right to the scalp, I'm just going to roll half a turn away from the scalp, and that is going to start the stacking process. So now every time you roll a rod, you're taking a subsection that is the diameter of the rod you're using. Remember, this can be performed with many different diameters of rods. You don't have to use the gray rods. Depends on the length of the hair, the amount of curl that the client wants to have in their hair. And now we roll half a turn more. So we can see that this is slowly going to start, our perm rods are going to get further and further away from the scalp. I'm going to spray some water on that extra single flat wrap I used. And we can see the angle that's starting to develop. This is what gives the added curl in the nape area, and that's what a stack wrap, as I mentioned, does. Produces additional curl in the nape area. And by using this technique, you can see we get tighter in the nape and gradually looser. Our curl is gradually looser as we reach the crown area. So now I follow that angle. You can see I'm getting further and further away from the scalp. And those rods just stack on top of one another, and that's why it's referred to as the stack wrap. So when we create this additional curl in the nape area and gradually less curl, remember that this may not suit every client. Every client has a different face shape, and this may not suit every client's face shape. So we need to keep in mind, will this look good on the client who is sitting in my chair? A lot of clients like the stack wrap because it is one of the perms that's the most manageable and low maintenance for them. Because once you've created this stack through the use of chemicals in your rods, your physical and chemical action, it's there for the client. They just get up in the morning and it's kind of just wash and wear for these clients. So they like to have more manageability, and the stack wrap can give them that. The processing is the same. You choose your perm according to the hair type after you have completed your analysis. It will require you to have a chemical wave lotion as well as a neutralizer, so everything is the same there. It's just the wrapping technique is different. So we could really start to see that angle coming to life. So just continue. Remember, this is the traditional stack wrap. It may be done in some salons, but it provides you with a good foundation, although it may not be performed on many clients right now, but it helps you to understand the stack wrap before we move on to the more modern techniques. The stack wrap is usually performed on medium length hair. Often it's cut in a graduation cut or a one length blunt haircut. It can also be performed on long hair though. It doesn't mean that you cannot perform this on long hair. It's just not typically a method of wrapping that's used for long hair, although the more modern spiral stack is often used for longer hair. So we can definitely see our stack coming to life, and sometimes you have to adjust them a little bit when you're all done and make sure that they're stacked equally. Whichever stack wrap technique you're using, remember the purpose of the stack wrap is to always have more curl in the nape area and gradually work towards a smooth crown area where there's not a lot of curl in the crown. So this would not be good if clients need a lot of height. Maybe they have a face shape or a head shape where they do need some height in the crown. This is not a style that you should recommend for those clients. Just going to redo that one. I don't like it. Remember, whenever you're doing perming, if you see something wrong, you don't like how the rod is sitting, take it out and redo it, because this is a permanent wave, permanent being the key word. We have to make sure these rods are wrapped smoothly and that the hair is evenly distributed around the rod so that we get a nice curl. So we're really creating a 45-degree curl pattern here. I'm gonna just keep on wrapping until I get to the top.